content creator unintentionally, just digital dumping and creating a video diary series for myself on TikTok. And something that came across my YouTube feed yesterday was this video, very short video by Dan Cole. And he said in the video to figure out what it is that you don't want in life, and then to look at your life now and ask yourself, if you continue doing exactly what you're doing, where's your life going to end up? Now, I'm not one for like manifestation and vision boards and things like that, but I thought that that was so profound, because that's something that I talk about all the time, like this concept of nothing is going to change if you don't change. And even though we can rest in the Lord, if you don't truly believe that he will do the things that he said that he will do for you, and you don't fully embrace your identity in him, it'll have you stuck. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, go get the thing, go, get $1 million. No, I think that everybody has an identity in Christ. And in your identity in Christ, there's a role that he requires you to play. And I think that as we lean into those roles, we will find ourselves being less concerned about worldly success, and you will actually become successful in the right of the Lord, or in the rank of the Lord. And I say that because I think everybody has these aspirations of things that they want to do. And I'm specifically talking to people that know that they have the potential and the roadmap to become creators. And I do think that everybody can do it, but I don't think that everybody should. And I'm also under the assumption that anybody watching this series feels like they should do it, right? And so what was profound about what he said was mostly that second part about asking yourself, where will I end up if I keep doing what I'm doing? So if you continue to get up every day, not take care of yourself, not eat well, not spend time with God, not do all of the things that you know you're supposed to do, where's that going to lead you? You're going to continue to be lost and unhealthy, physically, spiritually, and mentally, because you can only go so long without moving your body. And I'm not talking like intense workouts. And mind you, the background is different today. I had to bring my kids to practice, and it was just a long night. But I'm fully dedicated to doing this 1 entry per day thing, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really getting a lot from it. It's helping me to create things for people along the way. I did mention yesterday, y'all, I finally finished the, what did I call it? The 30-day creator series. I don't know what I called it, but what it is, I'm going to put it in the description. It is 30 prompts for people who want to create, but then like, I'm talking about like talking at the camera like this on your platforms. You want to create, but you don't really know where to start. You don't know how to manage like what you would talk about, all the things. And so I created that for y'all. And it's very straightforward. It's very to the point. You can repeat it multiple times. You can do it you can do 3 posts per day. You can do 1 post per day. It's really just designed to get you out of that stuck spot. If you feel like you don't have anything to talk about, or you don't know what to talk about. But anyway, yeah, if you continue to not do what it is that you're called to do, I don't know. And I feel like when I started this video series, or like this whole concept, this whole concept of like, oh, I'm going to document my life. I'm going to treat TikTok like it's a video diary. I thought that was so cool. And when I started doing that, it actually made me more consistent in other things. And some things I wasn't even talking about, but some of them I were. So like I was doing a 12-week year, and I was documenting my progress. I was going live every day after I left the gym. And I was just kind of like talking about what I had going on, what I had planned to do. And I'm not saying that you have to do it in that way, because I don't think that was necessary. But I think that documenting things and coming to realizations and sharing them with yourself and other people, it was really beneficial for me. And it's actually how I ended up in this space. I started like when I found an interesting book that I wanted to read, I would unpack that book online, share my thoughts, open up the floor for conversation. I would share interesting posts that I found, or interesting blogs that I found. I would share like a movie that I watched and my unpacking of it. So it was just like this, I don't know, this video diary, and it was really cool of an experience, and it landed me to the space of where I am now, which I think I have 107,000 followers and 107.3 thousand followers on TikTok now. I just checked YouTube. It's 812 subscribers on the primary YouTube channel. On this one, I think it's 88 on this channel. My daughter is also growing her YouTube channel. I think at some point earlier this week, she had 17 subscribers. She has 34 now. She really enjoys creating as well. So I've been allowing her to do that, and I've been kind of like, monitoring her journey with that. She is very much so herself and just sharing it with the world in the same way that I create. She's just creating. She doesn't really talk as much, but she likes to dance and craft and create things, and she's just been doing that full time. Full time. She's a kid. What do you mean full time? It's raining and I have the windows down, so we're getting wet. But anyway, I do think that everyone should have something that they work on or something that they're working toward. And you see that? And if you just take the pressure off yourself and start creating, I think that it will go really well for you. Something that happened yesterday too that I think I wanted to share, and I hadn't had the chance to share it because I hadn't had it happen. I am a black woman. If you didn't notice, right? I had someone comment on a post on TikTok. I rarely ever talk about things that only apply to black people because I am a black person sharing these experiences, so I would assume that people would be able to look at me and say, oh, this might be applicable to black people. But I posted something about provider men, and this is what I actually did my podcast topic on this week. I posted about this, and I was reading from a book written by a white man, 2 white men, and the book is about boys and the crisis that boys are going through, the crisis. And I mentioned in my reading of this book, mind you, this is our book club selection, so I really do enjoy this book, but it's a book that I enjoy, but I disagree with a majority of the book. Why did I choose it for book club? Because I think that it opens the floor for incredible conversation. I think that even though I don't agree with every single point, for instance, the point that I was making in this particular video is that provider men are stressed and have poor mental health. Do I believe that that is not true? No. But do I think that the angle that they went about addressing it was the only angle of concern? So I shared that section and I said what my personal opinion was and how it differed from what the book was presenting. And then I shared like more insight, like, okay, this is probably also why they're stressed, because I don't believe, and the reason I don't believe that the sole provider thing is archaic is because I know too many housewives. I know too many. I'm a stay-at-home mom myself, and I'm a non-traditional stay-at-home mom. I use that term loosely, but even if I was not doing all of the other things that I was doing, I would still be a stay-at-home mom. And I know many others. I think that sometimes our own reality keeps us from seeing other people's experiences. So with that being said, I know that there are couples who are doing 50-50, and I don't like that term, but for the sake of understanding, I know everybody knows what that means. So I'm saying 50-50. I know couples that do that. I know couples who have the man who is the primary breadwinner and the wife is just working to have extra money. I knew women like that. And when I was in the workplace, those were my favorite people to hang around, because me too, sis. I know people who are like, dad pays for all the big stuff, mom pays for the kids' activities. You know, I know people who are like, dad works, but mom runs the business, whatever. And I know people who are like, dad goes to work, mom does not have a job. Her job is to take care of the home and the kids. I know people like that. And so there's so many, I got so much feedback. And what was interesting in particular, there were 2 women who were like in the comments talking to each other about the post and about me, and saying how like the topic wasn't relevant to our community, talking about black people, and how it's ridiculous to bring this up since the majority or the overwhelming majority of black men are not providers. And we've all seen our moms, most black women have seen our moms be primary breadwinners. And I had to stop and address that. Normally I don't go to comments that or have nothing to do with the video, but I had to stop and address it. And I had to bring to light the point that I don't make content just for black people. I know that I hate the pressure that resides around that as a black creator. I feel like whenever you as a black person get online and say something, it's the reason why you as a black person can't have a thought that's contrary to the black community. When the craziest thing is, going to an HBCU, I realized just how varied and beautiful black people can be. We don't all think the same. We don't all believe the same things. We don't all come from the same backgrounds. Not everybody has the same experience, and I think it's so limiting to force all black people into a box in a way that I don't want to say that it's not done to other races. I just don't know that it's done to other races because I'm not in another race, but it's something that I see that disturbs me about my own race. So making that comment and saying how this doesn't apply, I had to tell her, I was like, first, this isn't about black people. This isn't about our community. If you go back and listen to the video, I never said this is about black people. The book is written by a white man. Like, how would this possibly be about black people? And in the book too, in the earlier sections of the book and throughout book club, he had mentioned how this book is not written to focus on a specific race. We're not talking about black boys, white boys, Asian boys. We're talking about boys as a whole. And there are going to be some pockets where I take a sidestep and I address a particular race, but overall the book is not about race. And so I had to mention that. And then I also had to correct her on the fact that, no, that's your experience. You think that this is irrelevant because you don't know anybody like that. I know people of all walks. Like I said, I know housewives. I know women who were working and their husbands were like, look, you have this craft, you do hair, you do this, I will buy you a studio and you can do that. I know people like that. I know people from every avenue. And I grew up with a single mom, and I grew up with a dad who was a sole provider. My stepmom was not a sole provider, but primary breadwinner. My stepmom was not a housewife, but I also know that it wasn't necessary for her to work, but she did. And so even my dad's wife now, it's not necessary for her to work, but she does. And so I know that it is not impossible. And I talk about my dad a lot in my content because my dad is one of the reasons that I feel the way that I feel about men and what a man is. I saw had a great example of what a man is and how a man should behave and what a man should be able to do and how you should treat said man. And so I had those examples, and I'm not traumatized by any of those things. And I understand that people also have their sensitivities. But those were the things that I pointed out. And I realized, like, that is frustrating to feel like every time I turn on the camera, I have to be speaking for my race. And I'm not. I'm speaking for myself. And I'm speaking on my experience. And I understand, too, maybe it's not the majority of black women that I'm going to be speaking to. And maybe that's why my content is not, like, I've seen people say that black creators can't grow, and I spoke on this before earlier on in this docuseries in this series, maybe like from day 1 to 10 I might have spoken on this, where I was saying how you making yourself highly isolated within a particular community, you're not going to grow as fast. And I talked about how one day I got 10,000 followers in one day, and I don't think that something like that would have been possible if I was highly specialized instead of just speaking on my experience, because I don't lead with, I'm a black woman, let me tell y'all my experience. Y'all can see that I'm black. Why do I have to say that every video? When I say what I talk about or when I describe my experience, is not to isolate anyone, but it's also not, unless I specifically state, it's not for me to also just do it for the community. And so I find that frustrating sometimes too. And one of the ladies was like, well, I assume that because you made the reference to Everybody Hates Chris that this was about black people. And I didn't even respond to that, because I'm like, you took this 10-minute video where I made like a 30-second reference to Everybody Hates Chris, and I never said anything else about race. And the reference that I made to Everybody Hates Chris was about the dad being a provider and how he worked all these jobs and how the wife would like intermittently work. And, like, it was just this concept that I was exploring, which that could have applied. I know we like to think that poor, impoverished behavior is only for our community, but it's not. Like, I know we think as black people, we are the only poor people in this nation. We are not. There are other poor people. There are other races of poor people, but other people wear their poverty different. So I know, I also know white families who are borderline impoverished, right? But their spending habits are different. And so that's the only thing that I would say. And there may be times in the future where I do specifically speak just to my race, but I would also add that as a creator, just kind of keep that in your back pocket too. Sometimes there's going to be people out there that assume that you're talking just to them. And there are also people who will say things in the comments like, oh, this is so needed for our community. And I know what they mean. Like, they love seeing a black woman speak positively about marriage and try to like assess responsibility and accountability on a portion of the woman. But I think it is frustrating sometimes to be a person who just talks. And that's not at all me downplaying my race. I love being Black. I love my experience, but I'm just saying that there are times where I'm not talking just to Black people. I'm talking to whoever needs to hear it. Will there be times when I'm only talking to people that look like me? Yeah. But is that every video? No. I don't think that we should also make those assumptions that people are going to be doing things like that just because they are a Black person. That's a lot of pressure to put on a person when really I just come on here talking about my experience. And so I just wanted to add that too. Like, you're going to sometimes run into that. But I think that overall, if you have this idea of considering, if I keep doing the same thing, where's my life going to go? And do I want to end up there? And if not, let me change. And even if you're a creator now and you feel like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not growing? Ask yourself what it is that you're doing, how you're going about your content. Don't copy other people. Don't do a complete 180 just to be entertaining, because I never did that. I just kept being myself, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pivot more into this. It's a little bit more sensitive. I don't know how I feel about exposing this area of things because I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback, but I also know that it's necessary to have these conversations, and I know somebody needs to hear it. And so you may come across that type of experience where you're having 200 views, 100 views, 50 views, and then all of a sudden you get a video that goes viral and you realize, you know what, this is something that maybe people need to hear. So I'm going to keep talking about everything. I'm just going to lean more into this. And maybe you need to also change the way that you present your information, because before I would just I would start talking, and I still start talking, but I've learned it is really beneficial to say the point of your message very early on in the beginning. So for instance, if I know that I want to talk about how you should allow your children to experience extracurriculars, I'll say that in the beginning. Like, you're doing your children a disservice if you don't allow them to participate in extracurricular activities, instead of starting and saying, you know, as a parent, something I realized is that you see the difference. Like, somebody's going to be like, girl, I don't care, you talk too slow. And then they're going to scroll. So don't sabotage yourself either by making videos that are intentionally not captivating, if that makes sense. And I think that all comes with time. And if you're struggling with topics, like I said, I did make the 30-day creator thing for y'all. And I'll put the link in this description as well. This video is knocking on 17 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And I will see y'all tomorrow.